You'll never get used to this. If you ever do reactions or if you ever watch serial killer documentaries, I'm sure a lot of you guys can agree with me that you never get used to actually hearing about the craziness that some people do because you can never fathom how they do it. In my head, I can never understand why this guy would think that doing this shit was okay. More serial killer files. Guys, hit the like button, subscribe to the channel if you're new around here. I want to try to do more of this stuff. I really do kind of like sitting down and learning about history, and this stuff is kind of like really dark and unsettling history. So let's go ahead and dive into the video, and I'll tell you guys what I think during and after it.
Sometimes the best time for killing is once you're out on parole after being put in prison for killing. Today we discuss the one known as the Genesee River Killer, or the Monster of the Rivers, Arthur Shawcross. Let's open the serial killer file.
All right, Rob. This guy I've never heard of before, by the way. This serial killer, I've never heard of him. He does look like someone I know, though. That's weird. Yikes.
Much about Arthur isn't known for an exact fact because Arthur was known to be a tremendous liar who would talk himself up to impress people in a less than charming way. We do know that Arthur was born...
I know people like that too. A lot of people who would just straight up tell you a bit bullshit lie just to make themselves look better.
Born in Maine in 1945,
can never believe a word they said.
New York State at an early age. His intelligence fluctuated throughout his life, but he was generally seen as being lower than average. According to Arthur, he had been sexually abused by a number of his family members. His mother would sodomize him with foreign objects such as a broomstick, and his aunt forced him into oral sex with her. These things set in motion his insatiable sexual desires, and sex soon became a top priority for Arthur. Arthur, at 21, was already married and a father before he was drafted into the army. At this time, Arthur divorced his wife and gave up rights to his infant son, never seeing him again. He fought in Vietnam and bragged about cutting women's heads off, eating them, raping them, and nailing their heads to trees or sticking them on posts. It's unknown as to what is true, and it is even speculated that Arthur never even saw combat, but he did attribute his violent, animalistic tendencies to Vietnam. It's believed he attacked and raped a number of Vietnamese women and little girls. After he was discharged from the army, he returned to New York and got married again, and then proceeded to take one step that many serial killers often do. He began setting fires. Arson is believed to have a powerful sexual effect on some people as they are aroused by control. So sending emergency services into panic mode gave him a rise. He was caught for the arson and for burglary and was sent to prison for it, but released in 1971 after he saved a guard's life during a riot. He and his second wife divorced while he was in prison. Prison didn't do much for Arthur's already troubled mind, and once he was released, he was much worse than before. Upon his release, he married for a third time and got a job for Watertown Public Works. Less than a year after his release, he sexually assaulted and murdered a young boy, and less than 4 months later, raped and killed a young girl. He was arrested a few months...
Good God! Oh, this isn't a long video at all. Holy smokes. My dude, I feel... You'll never get used to this. If you ever do reactions or if you ever watch serial killer documentaries, I'm sure a lot of you guys can agree with me that you never get used to actually hearing about the craziness that some people do because you can never fathom how they do it. In my head, I can never understand why this guy would think that doing this shit was okay and doing this stuff was good. I just don't.
Later and confessed to the murders. In one of the more shocking judicial decisions, thanks to a plea bargain, the murder of the young girl was reduced to manslaughter, and the murder for the young boy was dropped entirely. He was sentenced to only 25 years in prison.
What the fuck? Oh, that might be the... Oh, dude. Oh, God, that... Okay, that boils my blood just a smidgen.
But that is not where he stayed. Arthur was released in 1987 after prison staff and caseworkers foolishly ignored the warnings of prison psychiatrists and believed that Arthur was no longer a threat. Not even a full year later, in 1988, now free, Arthur's murderous behaviors were pushed into overdrive. He began strangling and battering women to death, mostly prostitutes.
You see, this never makes any sense to me. Obviously, every red flag is on this guy. Everything that you need to know that this guy's a bad dude has already been shown in full colors. And for some reason, especially back then, the law would never go the extra mile to make sure this guy never saw the light of day again. There'd be some reason on why the guy would be let go or the girl would be let go, and then they would go back to doing what they were doing because, we'll give them the benefit of the doubt. I think they're better now. But you knew full well of what this person could have been, and they turn out to be exactly what you thought of. You could have saved more lives if you had just acted more serious at the time they were first caught. You could have saved way more lives.
And began mutilating their bodies.
Of course they're never going to stop.
In not even 2 years, Arthur tore through 12 women. Some of their bodies not found for months after he was done with them.
12 women.
Most of the bodies were found near the Genesee River. A surveillance helicopter located one such body, and Arthur just so happened to be standing nearby. Some stories claim he was urinating at the bridge he had just dumped the body off of, but it's also believed he may have been masturbating. He was stopped and apprehended and confessed in custody.
Fuck.
Though he attempted to plead not guilty by reason of insanity,
dude.
His defense was too weak, and he was found guilty of 10 murders and sentenced to life in prison. On November 10th of 2008, Arthur complained of pain in his leg. He was taken to a medical center where, later that day, he died of cardiac arrest. Thank you for watching, and I hope...
Good deal. The children thing got under my skin hardcore. I really felt the blood boiling with that one. How it was reduced to manslaughter for the young girl, and then completely the charges dropped for the boy's death. Oh my god, get out of here with that shit.